Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about why Luke Skywalker needs to be in the Ahsoka series. Before we jump in, remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a like on the video, it's massively appreciated. So, thanks to the Book of Boba Fett, which came out earlier this year, we already know that Luke and Ahsoka know each other already at this point. But with Luke's words to Ahsoka just before she leaves, "Will I ever see you again?" which, may I add, mirror the words Anakin said to his mum just before he left Tatooine to become a Jedi, it leaves us with a sense of yes, they have indeed met, but they're not too familiar with each other at this point. In fact, I actually believe Ahsoka's trip to visit Luke in the Book of Boba Fett is the first time they've met. I do think Ahsoka heard of the legend of Luke Skywalker over the years leading up to their encounter, the young Jedi who defeated the Emperor and Darth Vader, which probably piqued Ahsoka's interest, considering Anakin was Ahsoka's former master, and this boy bears the same surname of Skywalker. Now, how they originally met has already been written many years ago by Dave Filoni, but we're yet to find that out. And I actually think it will happen in the Ahsoka show because there's no better time for it to really take place. It'd be something as simple as Ahsoka sensing Grogu reaching out to any Jedi on the Seeing Stone, but then also sensing the Jedi that responded to the call, being Luke Skywalker, and then she begins her search for him. Now, there is much more to this than what I just want to happen, which we're going to cover in a moment. Witnessing the first time Ahsoka and Luke cross paths is sure to be one of the most powerful Star Wars moments of all time. Not just because they are two of the most powerful Force users left in the galaxy at this point. I mean, I'm not really sure what the state of Palpatine is during the Mando timeline. Perhaps he's spending a lot of time in Bacta trying to improve that clone body. But because of the strong connections the two shared together, they both had deep personal relationships with Anakin Skywalker, whilst they both almost died trying to save him from the grips of Darth Vader and the dark side. Ahsoka knows one part of Anakin's story whilst Luke knows the other. Hearing the two exchange stories on Anakin and Vader would be truly amazing. Ahsoka telling Luke about his father during the Clone Wars, how he was brave and fearless, whilst also telling him of Anakin's desire and drive to protect those around him and the ones he loved. A far cry to the person he became when he took on the persona of Darth Vader, whilst Luke would be able to fill Ahsoka in on what actually happened during their final battle on the Death Star, that Luke was on the ropes, threw his lightsaber down in one last attempt to rescue his father from the Emperor's clutches, and to almost die in the process before Anakin finally manages to escape the grip of the darkness, take down Palpatine and rescue Luke, fulfilling the prophecy of the Chosen One and becoming a Jedi once more after more than 20 years consumed by evil, sacrificing himself through an act of pure selflessness and love, before succumbing to his injuries and becoming one with the Force. This would no doubt bring great closure to Ahsoka, who the last time she saw Anakin was almost killed by the monster he'd become, whilst providing Luke with a greater insight into what his father was truly like. Ahsoka also knew Padme as well, and whilst Luke did get to meet his father, he had no memory of his mother, and as far as we know, old Ben didn't grace Luke with any knowledge of Padme like he did Leia, unless he did so in the form of a Force ghost at some stage. But Ahsoka isn't the only reason Luke needs to be in the Ahsoka series. It's common knowledge now that Hayden Christensen is going to be in the Ahsoka show. He of course portrayed Anakin Skywalker in the prequels and the Kenobi series, so he's coming back for this project, which brings with it a completely new dynamic if Luke was to appear. Not only would we be able to see Anakin and Ahsoka on screen together, perhaps as a flashback, but this could also be Force Ghost Anakin, perhaps communicating with Ahsoka once again now she has gained the closure she desperately needed. Perhaps she was out of touch with Anakin in a similar way to how Obi-Wan wasn't able to communicate with Qui-Gon for all those years, and Luke's arrival has been a way to reconnect the two. It would also be the first time Anakin and Luke have properly embraced each other on our screens. Sure, they had that moment at the end of Return of the Jedi, but it wasn't something that happened regularly. They did briefly speak to one another in a new Star Wars book, but that was mainly Anakin sensing Luke was in danger from the netherworld of the Force and coming to his aid, whilst also warning him of the growing threat of the dark side. They never really had time to flesh things out. So as I mentioned earlier, there is more to this story than just my thoughts on it. Now, over the last couple of months, there have been numerous reports of Mark Hamill returning to Star Wars once again, as he did with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, which is set within the same time period as Ahsoka. So it not only makes sense for the legendary Jedi to play a part in a show which is primarily based around another strong Force user and former Jedi, but the show is also being developed by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, the same duo that brought us The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, two other shows that Luke has appeared in. But not only this, with Luke meeting Ahsoka in Boba Fett, it also leaves us with a gap of their initial meeting to fill in, something that Dave Filoni has already addressed during the latest Star Wars Celebration, where he had this to say. Yeah, I have a whole story about that I devised many years ago actually, because I had to put that title in place to do what I'm doing now and understand it. I haven't found a way to tell that story yet. I've told a piece of it afterward, but we'll see. You'll love it, it's a great story. So what do you guys think? Do you think we'll see Luke and Ahsoka meet during the Ahsoka series, even with Anakin as well? Let me know in the comments, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.